So Athens is in a runoff for the mayor's seat and a couple of commissioners. If you didn't know, Athens is divided up into 10 districts, and for each district, there is a commissioner that represents those people. And right now, District 5 and District 9 are headed into a runoff. And I'm gonna just be real, I'm disappointed in District 5. Out of all of the seats that were up, District 5 had the most candidates running in the race. So you had a difficult decision. But I'm disappointed in the turnout. I'm disappointed in the turnout or the votes in general for commissioner because the numbers say that people who voted for the mayor didn't always vote for the commissioner. And what y'all not understanding is, yeah, there's a lot of media behind the mayor, but the way that this local government is set up, your commissioners matter just as much, or if not more than the mayor, because the mayor, while they can vote when it's a tie, the commissioners are voting on what we as the citizens, yes, they're the representation of their respective districts, but they also vote in citywide affairs. So everybody really should be paying attention to who's sitting at your commissioner seat and this race in general. So if you have friends in these districts, you can educate them because you had some candidates, and the candidate that made it to the runoff was probably, out of all of the other candidates, the least versed in the needs of District 5. And I'm talking about Craig Thomas. I respect everybody in their professions and what they do. He works in ministry. And when I've listened to him, I've listened to the debates, I've listened to the interview that he had with Athens Political Nerd, and I'm just not seeing anyone who has experienced Athens outside of their bubble, who has talked to people outside of their bubble. Because anytime given the opportunity to give more specifics, it turned into a story. It turned into a sermon. Like, quite literally, during that interview with Athens Political Nerd, he said, and in the New Testament, I'm gonna stop you right there, bro. I don't want to hear that. I don't. I respect everybody's views. That's just who I am. I appreciate your perspective. But don't mix that into my politics. I know that it's already in the politics, but let's have some decorum. I don't need you pulling out the New Testament when we're trying to talk about real issues. People are dying, Craig, quite literally. So I want someone who knows about what they're talking about. He was asked how to grade, how would he grade the current commissioners? He was like, I'm so locked in to what I'm doing and, what's here in front of me. I don't know. You probably know what the concerns are more than me. What? First of all, this is the candidate that's endorsed by the current mayor. What? And see, these are the things that happen when there's male leadership. There's a group, people want to hire their friends. And that's I'm not even going to make it a gender thing. That's in general with local politics, because these politicians are people we can touch. They're very close. Like when we're voting for president and senators and things like that, those people feel so far away. We might not ever talk to them, but we're seeing our commissioner. We're seeing our mayor at games in the parks. We're seeing them. So I can understand candidates and people wanting to vote for their friends, somebody they've been knowing their whole life. They saw them grow up, whatever. Things are happening. People are in need. We don't have time for that. Respectfully, we don't have time for your good old boys club. We don't have time for that. I'm very disappointed in this being the candidate that Kelly Girtz endorsed, because for the most part, I thought Kelly was a good mayor. So when we look at the other candidates, the ones that I was anticipating being in the runoff, Kimberly Bennett and Xander Mason. These are both very good options. When I look at Xander, I see young energy, very well spoken. He knows what the issues are. And while I can look at Xander and assume that we live in two different Athens, like we have two different experiences, this is somebody that I can talk to. In fact, when we were at one of the debates, I went up to most of the candidates who were a part of the debate, and I talked to him personally. And he was honestly the most welcoming out of the candidates that I talked to, really wanted to get my thoughts on things, gave me his contact information. So even though we come from two different paths, I feel like I can trust him to listen when we have a need. Most importantly, he has an accountant background. He knows the numbers. And one of the issues in Athens is how money is getting spent, because Athens is getting funding. We're getting the money. We're not always utilizing what we have. So this would have put us in a good situation. I thought Xander was a viable choice. But then when I look at Kimberly and Xander actually aligned on a good bit of their ideals. But Kimberly has been doing the work. Xander is young, fresh with energy, but Kimberly has that knowledge, not necessarily as an accountant, but the views from the perspective of the people who are being impacted the most. One of the things that her and Xander aligned on was the bus routes. Right now, we have free fare for people who ride the bus, which is great. Now, since we have that in place, we're talking about expanding it. But while we're expanding it, we also need to make it more efficient. Both of them had ideas on how we can make things more efficient, but Kimberly had that experience where she's working with people who ride the bus every single day. It's good when we can have someone in the commission who can touch the people, because we can have all these ideas all day. Things come forth to the commission table. They can approve it or not. Oftentimes before they approve it, they take public input. If we can bring ideas to the table that are more fleshed out, so there's not that red tape that every politician talks about that they want to cut down. You cut down the red tape by being in tune with the people, so we don't have to keep going back and forth about this. If the ideas are coming to the table more complete, we can be more efficient. And I think that Kimberly Bennett would have solved that issue, while I also think that Xander was a viable choice. But we're here now, and I need District 5 to get up and vote. Now, when we talk about District 9, I just want to start off with, I respect my elders. Ovita Thornton has been the commissioner for District 9. She ran in this cycle against Tracy Smith. They are currently in a runoff. And while I respect everything that Ovita has done with her time with Clark County, not just on the commissioner seat, she has more than 16 years with the school board. She's obviously been a commissioner. She's also worked at the state level doing some lobbyist work. So thank you for your service and everything that you've done up until this point. But I think that there are needs that are happening in District 9 that are not being resolved in a timely manner. So when those things start to happen, I start to question, who are you prioritizing? Is it the majority of the residents, or is it something else? When I look at what's happening in District 9, the biggest thing that stands out to me is the water situation in Pinewood. District 9 they're in a water crisis, and that's an urgent matter. And we've seen the government work in haste in Athens. We saw it with the Real-Time Crime Center when the tragic incident happened and the people responded. But what we're seeing when Athens does take urgent action, who is that prioritizing mostly? We know that in Pinewood, many of the residents are Latino residents, and they have not been helped in haste. And that matters, because if we allow the government and our leaders to turn our back on any community, it can always be us next. It could be you. It could be you or somebody in your life next. So I take that very seriously. I don't think that those people are being heard or being prioritized. A hot topic has been the gerrymandering of districts. There's some controversy surrounding Ovita Thornton back in 2021, 2022, when it comes to abstaining from a vote regarding redistricting. This led to 3 Athens commissioners being uprooted out of their seats. One of those commissioners was Tim Denson, and another was Melissa Link, who's currently a commissioner right now. Tim Denson, as we know, is running for mayor. So I think that's interesting, to say the least. Tracy is approaching this campaign as someone who's already started to listen to the people of District 9 who have gone voiceless for the past 4 years. She's approaching this with wanting to bring transparency and communication to the table, technology to the table. And that's one of the things I think the local government in Athens is lacking in general, is the technology to communicate with people. I think that the community needs to be updated more often about the things that are being decided in City Hall. And Tracy wants to bring that to the table. Another priority for Tracy's campaign is infrastructure and youth development. People in District 9 are having to walk along the busy roadways on high grass. So she wants to get more sidewalks in place there, more parks. The kids don't have things to do. And that's a big thing where Athens is really spread out. And we know that the bus line is lacking. So people aren't able to get around outside of their districts. So when we have that happen, we want to create things for the people in the district to do without having to leave and add more cars on the road. So when I'm looking at these candidates, yes, I see experience, but I also seeing what's happening right now. And I think that District 9 needs some fresh eyes over the district and some new ears to listen in. And when we get into this mayor race, there's so much because when we look at these candidates, just being honest, I didn't vote for either one of them. I voted for Lakeisha Gant. I liked her stances on community because I believe our foundation is broken in Athens, and her campaign stood for strengthening that foundation. So now we're here, and my options are Tim Denton or Dexter Fisher. Both of these campaigns have tension. On Tim's side, there's some distrust based on past events. But when I look at his track record, I see a leader that made decisions for all people. I do see that in some of the policies that were passed under Tim's administration when he was a commissioner. And with Dexter, I also see someone who has done good in the community. My distrust lies with the people in his corner, the people who have funded him, because historically we're told to follow the money. We're told to follow the money. So how can we trust either of these candidates? I think that we can't just give our vote away. We can't just say, oh, well, since Lakeisha didn't make it, I'm just out of this. Or we want to just throw our votes on the one person because of what they have to earn it. They have to earn it at this point. So we need to hold them accountable. So I'm going to be asking the questions. I look forward to having a conversation with both candidates in the future about what's happened in the past and where they're going to take us moving forward. So look out for that. But I want to know your thoughts, whether you're a citizen of District 5 or 9, or whether you're just an Athenian that wants to chime in on what's taken place thus far and where you may want to see Athens go in the future. Let's talk politics.